I'm Steven Siu. I'm a pastor at Chinese Evangelical Church. I've been there for 20 years full-time, and my wife is May, and my children are JJ and Abby. God calls all of us into ministry to serve Him. To minister in the Greek means to serve. I've been called to serve God ever since middle school. Ever since the time I was saved. To do ministry full-time is a calling, it is special. And so I was called into full-time ministry about 24 years ago. And I was working in consulting at that time, and that had been pretty enjoyable until about my 5th year in consulting, where every day when I went to work, I just felt, I just don't enjoy doing this anymore. What happened was, during that time I was also thinking, what are the things I enjoy doing the most? And it came down to ministry. And I was going, most of my life I've been serving God, so maybe God's calling me into full-time ministry. So as I started going to UCSD, taking Hebrew, started serving God at church, and God really blessed the young adult ministry I was a part of, and so I felt some confirmation there. And so the church people helped confirm that. And also in myself, I just thought, God can use me in doing this. And so I saw myself growing over time in that. On the same time, as I just mentioned, there was this external confirmation. Church people were confirming it. An old mentor in LA, part of the Navigators, sent word, hey, you should go into ministry. Yeah, I think that's really good. So all this came together to just confirm my heart, both internally and externally, that God called me into ministry. God's calling for us is to be faithful, doing the gospel ministry right where we're at, And there's nothing that pleases God more than being that faithful minister. When I was initially called to ministry, I had already realized, I'm not going to be like the famous Asian American pastors. I'm just a pretty ordinary guy. And I remember God saying to me, I just want you to be faithful where you're at. Will you fill in the gap where you're at? I want you to serve in a Chinese church. There's a huge need among Chinese churches. You can do that. I want you to do that. Will you do that for me? And I remember responding to God, yeah, I will do that. I will fill in the gap wherever you call me. And that gap happened to be CC, and it's where I've been for the last 23 years since seminary, and even a couple of years before that. So I've been trying to be faithful to the gap that God's called me to, and that's what I've learned. And I would give that advice to anybody being called to ministry. There may be a select few of you who will be amazing pastors, and your name will be widely broadcast throughout the world. For most of us, probably not. We're probably going to be pretty ordinary guys, but God's going to use us if we are faithful to Him, faithful to the calling, faithful to the place He calls us to. And in that way, I think God will be blessed, we will be blessed, and our congregation will be blessed.